Hello, everyone. Okay, so we're going to be covering a story that came across my timeline involving his name is Spencer Tay, and he also goes by the name Tay the Funniest. I'll include screenshots and I'll also read it aloud for anyone who's not visually watching. Okay. So I'm going to start with the screenshot. This is from a Tori Jade Rogers, and she says that Spencer Tay is a whole scammer. How does it feel scamming women and single mothers out of their hard earned money just because you can't get or keep a job, to keep up with your lifestyle? I see why you got a colostomy bag. God don't like ugly. And before anybody come with anything negative or stupid, there is such a thing as a blessing. And that's exactly what I thought it was. But do not, I repeat, do not believe this broke up when he advertises all that half off on bills and all that BS. He has gotten many like this, not just me, and I noticed a trend. It is always women and single mothers. Then he blocked me. And before anyone says it was not him, oh, yes, it was because I video chatted with him before I even did it. Okay. So this is the half off scam. And I'm also going to include some of the comments, which indicates that this is the notorious half off scam. If you're not familiar with the half off scam, it basically just involves where a fraudster or scammer, I'll just be referring to the person as a scammer and not calling Spencer Tay a scammer. This is all, just coming from Tori J. Rogers. I don't know the guy. Okay, so anyways, what the half off scam is where someone, so say I have a bill due, I have to pay my rent. Say, for example, my rent is $2,000. So if I come across a scammer who is offering the half off scam, I pay him. Usually, how it goes is literally in the name. I pay him $1,000 for him to pay my full rent. So essentially, that's how the scam works. So what the scammer does is that they usually either pay it with someone's ACH information or their debit or credit card number. ACH, for those who don't know, is automated clearinghouse, and that's done with your routing and your checking account number. It can be your routing and your savings account number as well. With Tori J. Rogers, I'm not sure how hers was conducted, but we see that the payment was rejected. So when the payment is rejected, usually one or two things happen where either back office is what we call it. So back office is like just people who work in a bank financial setting, but they work literally in back office. They're not client facing like how when you walk into a bank. So someone from back office and ACH department could have caught it. Typically, like an automated system will catch it. But best believe that there are people who are paid to monitor your account as well for, for suspicious activity and also to protect you and whatnot. The second thing that could have happened is the client caught it, not caught on to like the actual scam, but they caught the transaction, which means that they were reviewing their account like they're supposed to, and they noticed a fraudulent charge, so they called and reported it to their bank. Okay. Regardless, her payment got rejected, so now she says that she has been scammed. Blase, blase, blase. So with this scam, I've seen it plenty of times in cases that I have worked. I've seen it from the suspect perspective along with the victim perspective. So the suspect typically, sometimes they genuinely just didn't know that it was a scam. How Tori J. Rogers referred to it, she thought that it literally like was a blessing. If we're gonna go back to the older Dodge, that still rings true. So if it sounds too good to be true, it most likely is. Now, for hers, I'm not sure exactly like, if this was an account that had already been compromised. But we just know that the payment was rejected. Okay. So let's keep scrolling. And we can see in the comments where Dee Dee says, when people say half off, don't bother. One, it can land you in jail because they're using someone else's credit card without their permission to pay their bill. And two, those bills bounce more than 90% of the time. Sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends, the time frame in which it's caught, how much the transaction is. A lot of times how it gets flagged is, so say if we're going to call him Charles Jones. So Mr. Charles lives in New York, and he randomly gets a power bill payment out of for the county of Los Angeles, and that's not in his normal transaction history, is very out of the norm for him. So again, it doesn't always get caught, but sometimes this will get referred over or escalated over to ACH department for an analyst to review it. Usually they'll make contact with the client to ask if this is a legitimate charge. Sometimes they'll just reject it altogether, and they'll put a hold on the client's account and wait for the client to contact them. And then again, the client can either see as a pending charge, and they'll go ahead and call in to their bank to let the bank know to, hey, stop this charge. That's when we'll do like what's called like a stop payment, or we'll do a 24-hour force return where we'll force that payment to come back to the client so the client doesn't lose any money. Or, like we'll just dispute the charge if it actually like posts to the account, which hard post means that it's no longer pending. It actually posted to this person's account. So with this, going back to Didi's comment, can it land you in jail? Oh, yes, it can. Depending on the amount of it, and if the person has any relationship to that person. So say if it was like an ex-wife or ex-husband doing it, and there's already like some bad blood brewing there, they may press charges, they may not. Typically, I don't really see that for ACH. Usually the client just wants their money back. Now, if the client can't get their money back, then they'll go about pressing charges, but that's after like a certain amount of time has passed, like a couple months has passed, because that falls under regulations. So that can happen. The second thing that Didi mentioned, so those bills bounce more than 90% of the time. Percentage wise, I can't say, but a lot of times, it gets rejected. It just gets rejected based off of a lot of different factors. And we're gonna keep scrolling. And then Tori J. Rogers also posts different receipts, and she posts where another lady got scammed as well for, with the return payment. This payment was returned for $1,352. And you see where it says it may be subject to a return item fee. So going down to another comment as well. So where Quintez Hubbard says it only buys you time so your lights don't get turned off. You get evicted, etc. By the time it bounces, that's on you, because essentially you're buying yourself time to pay the bill. So say if my rent is due on the 1st, but I don't get paid until the 4th or the 5th or, whatever day. But on the 1st, I just don't have that money to pay it. So if I tap in with Spencer Tay.
Side note, I don't recommend this, by the way.
Sometimes the people don't know, but they're getting more time to pay that bill. So even though if that rent payment that Spencer Tay conducted for me, or whoever conducted, not saying that he, did it himself, it buys that person more time to get the money into their account from their actual payroll check to pay the bill. Now, I'm pretty sure Tori J. Rogers got like additional fees, and just depending on what happened, she could have been like locked out of making any more online payments with that merchant. But that's just between her and that merchant, how they have it set up. I've seen this scam with like hotels where people, would pay half on a hotel booking for, however long, or they'll pay half for a cruise, half for, shopping. And do that at your own risk if that's something that you want to do. If you feel so good about tapping in, then you tap in at your own volition. But this is a very common scam. And we're going to keep scrolling just a little bit more. And you see in this comment, again from Quintez Herbert, where it says, when it comes to scamming, you actually get half off its plane tickets, hotels, amusement parks with your kids, stuff like that. That way, by the time it bounces, you done got whatever you needed. But it all bounces. Um, and then he or she makes the comparison between, like, when it comes to the bills in the house to versus when you're just using it for a hotel and whatnot. I'll also have a video coming as well where people use someone, they participated in the half off scam, but the police were actually called here because that person was notified once the people booked, like once they got to the hotel and they checked in. And so the charges, is then the card is then charged. So the police were called, but I say that video is upcoming as well. So just to close it out, was Tori Jade Rogers scam? Yes, she was. Is Spencer Tate a scammer? I can't say that because I don't want any illegal coming to my door. However, if someone is telling you to tap in,
man. AT&T account, man.
I'll save that for a separate video because I see that tap in is that the phrase, the whole tap in it's nothing new. It's been around for a couple of years, but I know that that's something that is frequently said in his video. So we'll tap into that later. But that's what the half off scam is. That's what it consists of. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have been a victim of this type of scam, please drop down in the comments and let me know. But that will do it for this episode, and I will see you all later for more. Bye bye.